A few months ago I made a video about my large workshop machines and what I like and dislike about them. One of those machines was my Charnwood bandsaw, which I've had for 9 years now, and I had a few minor gripes with it. The people at Lumberjack Tools saw that video and got in touch to let me know about their new range of professional bandsaws, and they asked if I'd like to try one out because they thought that it would solve a lot of the issues with my bandsaw. So let's take a look. Unfortunately I lost some audio here, but it'll be back very soon. And I was immediately surprised at how large this machine is. I didn't realise it was a floor standing machine. I knew it would be slightly bigger than my old machine because it has 20mm extra height in cutting capacity and about 35mm extra throat capacity. Nope, that's not happening. Right, my brother's going to pop round and give me a hand lifting it, and in the meantime I can start to move this one out of the way. And I think it's worth saying that I had no intentions to upgrade my bandsaw whatsoever. It's far from perfect though, and that's why I would have been mad to say no to an upgrade. Also, since I got rid of the Mitre saw from the workshop last year, I'm finding that I'm using the bandsaw way more often. Oh my god, it's been a while since I cleared this out. As luck would have it, my buddy Dean from the Woodwork Journey channel was popping over to the workshop to hang out, and he offered to lift it with me, and he made it look easy. In terms of setup and assembly, there wasn't a great deal to do, just lifting the cast iron table onto the trunnions, and there are a couple of pins to push through and some bolts with handles to tighten everything in place. So what were the issues I had with my old bandsaw, and does this new bandsaw solve them? The first issue was that the fence rail needs to be removed to enable removal of the blade, meaning you then have to reconfigure it to get the measurement scale positioned where it should be. It's so cumbersome that if you are as lazy as I am, you'll end up trying to make all cuts with the same blade fitted, regardless of whether you need to make resawing cuts, typically done with a wider blade, or tight curves, typically done with a narrower one. The cast iron table on the Lumberjack has this blade slot going sideways, so no need to interfere with the calibration of the fence rail, making blade changes quick and easy. And it has this locking handle with a D-nut, which ensures that the two sides of the table stay in alignment. So that's a tick. The second issue was that positioning the blade guide bearings require Allen keys of different sizes, and accessibility is really difficult, making the process awkward and fiddly, which again was another reason to avoid changing blades unless absolutely necessary. Adjustment of both the guide bearings and the thrust bearings on the Lumberjack are completely toolless with these nice knurled metal knobs that can be adjusted by hand, and I have to say the process of setting these was an absolute joy. Quick, simple and intuitive. Underneath the table there's a blade shroud that can be removed for access to the lower bearings, which adjust in the same way and are much more accessible than on the Charnwood. Also interestingly, these have double bearings for use with wider blades. Very impressed. So that's a big tick. The third issue, while not a major one, was that I found the built-in light on the Charnwood difficult to position. The Lumberjack has this downlight fitted and it illuminates things brilliantly, so that's another tick. The new saw also solves a few other problems that I didn't know I had. First, it comes with an aluminium insert plate, a big upgrade from the plastic one provided with the Charnwood that eventually broke, meaning I ended up making my own from some aluminium, and to get that sitting level with the table I glued on some washers to shim it up flush with the table. The Lumberjack insert though has height adjustable machine screws, so you can dial it in nice and flush with the table, a nice feature which I've previously only ever seen on table saw insert plates. It also has a spring-loaded locking plate underneath which secures the insert plate to the table. Secondly, dust extraction was clearly not just an afterthought on this machine, unlike on many others. There's an angled port just beneath the table to extract from the blade, really nicely enclosed as well, which is good to see, and a second port to extract from the cabinet at the bottom. In the past I tended not to use extraction at the bandsaw, partly because I have it located on the opposite side of the workshop to where my extractors and ducting are, but also because the extraction on the Charnwood was so ineffective that it seemed pointless. If I don't figure out a way to connect it up to extraction, I will definitely miss the little passive dust collection drawer on the Charnwood, which I thought was a good feature. The fence rails on the saw arrived slightly out of alignment with the table. You can see here the bottom of the rail is flush to the table, but on the other side it was about 2mm higher. That was an easy fix though. Using these adjustment bolts I got it aligned nicely. The fence didn't move particularly smoothly on the rail at first though, it was a little stiff, but a light spray of PTFE oil improved things. It now glides really nicely. There's this plastic foot on the underside of the fence which rides on the cast iron table. The back of the fence has a tendency to hit the mitre slots. unless you loosen the bolts on the fence and lift it up at the back before tightening again. Once it's set, it's fine, but just something to be aware of. The throat capacity here is 383 millimeters, but because the fence rail only extends to here, which allows the space for the fence to be fitted, the maximum cut you're going to get with a fence is 275 millimeters, and the maximum cut height is 247 millimeters. The fence cinches down nice and secure, and it can be positioned in an upright position for cutting taller workpieces for things like resawing cuts, or horizontally for making narrow rip cuts. There is no measurement marker on this fence though, meaning you need to eyeball down the face of the fence to align it with the measurement that you want. And when I tested that out, here setting it to 100 millimeters and making a cut, it proved to be very accurate indeed. The fence sits perfectly square to the table. The only thing I would really criticize here is the plastic knob. I think it's ABS plastic and it does feel like decent quality, but elsewhere all the knobs and wheels are metal. While I'm feeling critical, there are a couple of other things I'm not a huge fan of. The base is a mobile one, which is a nice addition. However, it has 3 wheels, 2 at the back and 1 in the middle at the front. Then it has some wind down feet for when you want to prevent it from rolling around. Now I have my bandsaw pushed right up to the wall and then I pull it out each time I want to use it. And with those corner feet up so that the wheels are engaged, the bandsaw rocks on that central wheel at the front. It's not a major issue for me though, as I plan on making my own base for this machine anyway, mainly because I like my bandsaws to sit a lot higher than other machines and workbenches. That's just a personal thing. The Mitre Gauge supplied with the machine is basic, but it is mostly metal apart from the knob, and as always seems to be the case, there's a bit of side-to-side play. And unfortunately no adjustment cams to snug it up to the mitre slots. It also has primitive stops allowing you to dial in repeatable 90 and 45 degree angles. However, in practice I found them really difficult to set, because you square it up to the table, tighten it down with the machine screw and nut, but then when you lock in the angle with the handle, you find that the mechanism moves slightly and it's no longer square. These are full-sized standard mitre slots though, by the way, meaning if you want to use an aftermarket high quality mitre gauge like this one, you can. The only other critique I have, which I know is nitpicking, is the range of reds on display here. There are these lovely red anodized aluminium features on the guide blocks which look fabulous. Then there's this kind of orangey red colour on the blade housing. And then there's this third red colour on the doors, which my friend Dean described as faded in the sun red, which I found quite funny and quite accurate. One thing I really like about the doors is the rubber seals around them, which adds to the feeling of quality. The cast iron table is also a thing of beauty. Just look at these nicely finished chamfers here. When I got my Axminster table saw, I had to file the edges myself to avoid getting cuts from those sharp edges. Rotation of the blade works really well on the trunnions. It rotates up to 10 degrees in one direction and 45 in the other, and there's a stop so that you can accurately configure your 90-degree position, and that stop actually works really well. While the gear ratio here allows for excellent precision for dialing in an accurate angle, pivoting the table to 45 degrees took a total of 65 turns of the hand wheel, which took just over 30 seconds in real time. And I think it would have been a lot quicker had the hand wheels had handles to install. It looks to me like there's a place where they could have easily been added, and I might even have a go at adding some myself. Everything on the underside of the table, including the trunnions, looks incredibly beefy and well made. There's also a quick release lever for tensioning and detensioning the blade, which my Charnwood bandsaw also had, but it's really useful for blade changing and also handy if you want to take the tension off the blade if you're not planning on using the machine for a while. These wheels are cast iron, so perhaps it's not a surprise that I couldn't lift this machine, but they are perfectly balanced, which obviously makes for smoother operation, less vibration, and again a huge step in quality to the aluminium wheels on my old Charnwood bandsaw. I thought I'd try out a Resaw cut just to get a feel for the power of this 1500 watt 2 horsepower motor, and it cut really nicely without bogging down, so happy with that too. The Charnwood had an 1100 watt motor and I was happy with the power from that as well, so I already expected not to have any issues with power. There's also a blade tension gauge visible through a window in the door and onboard tool storage for all of the spanners and Allen keys you might need. Also, I thought, unfortunately there's no 2mm Allen key for adjusting the insert plate and no spanner for adjusting the stops on the Mitre Gauge. The supplied blade is 16mm or 5/8 of an inch and 4 TPI, and it cuts really nicely, but I'll be ordering some spare blades for this machine to make sure that all my cutting needs are covered. I am an affiliate of Lumberjack Tools, so if you'd like 5% off this or any of their machines, tools or accessories ordered via their website, you can use the promo code RAGandBone when you order. And just by the way, Lumberjack don't know I'm making this video and I'm under no obligations whatsoever, meaning I can give you my honest thoughts. This isn't a review video, as I like to use machines for at least a few months before I pass judgment. And at some point I might make a follow-up video depending on how it performs and whether I discover any issues with it, but so far, so good. Having had a look at other bandsaws of this size from other woodworking machinery brands, it seems like Lumberjack have managed to price this quite competitively. Thanks for watching.